And we're live. And we are live. Hi guys, welcome to Security Dog Handler live Q&A / talk, is it? So if you're new around here, this is just a chance for people to come in, ask questions, chat to each other. Hopefully there'll be some people dropping in. I know there's a normal core of people that will drop in, come and say hello. But yeah, most of the time, it'll be me talking about recent things that have happened, maybe some recent videos, and then just going through sort of different things to do with dog handling. So it is Wednesday, obviously, as my Wednesday live, and we're sort of halfway through the week. For me, 3/4, because my shifts sort of run Sunday to Thursday most of the time. So I'm 3/4 away through my 4 shifts for this week. And it's been an interesting week so far. So in terms of Sunday night, there was some form of activity. So when I was in the van, I noticed that a light had gone on in one of the units that I know is motion censored, and that it's not one of the motion sensors that sort of sets itself off. Hi Chip King, how you doing, mate? So yeah, Sunday there was one of the motion detectors in one of the units got set off. So sat in the van just for 10-15 seconds just to see if maybe any of the exterior lights got set off, which they didn't, or if I could see any shadows in the unit where the light was on. I could see if I see any shadows on reflecting off one of the other units. Just trying to give myself maybe a bit of a head start to maybe what I was walking into, etc. So after, like I say, 10-15 seconds of just seeing what was going on, nothing really changed. So got the dog out. So the unit was probably 30 to 40 yards away from where I was sitting, and my windscreen was pointing straight at it, so I noticed straight away. So after 10-15 seconds, got out, to which sets off one of the exterior lights of the units that I sit under, so possibly giving someone the jump. Got the dog out. As I was getting the dog out, normally when I get the dog out and we're just going out to do a patrol, normally I'll say to him, come on, I'll say out, come on then, let's go. When I try to get the dog out for a reason, no, what do I say? No, when I get the dog out just to do a patrol, I say, come on, mate, and it's very calm. I'm just say, come on, mate, and then we go. When I get the dog out for a reason, I get him out and I say, right, let's go. And I'll make it a bit sharper and hopefully trying to trigger the dog into me being a bit sharper, therefore him starting to think that something's going on. So yeah, got the dog out, said, right, let's go, and made a sort of a beeline for the unit where the light was on. And the dog, I'd say within 10 yards, all of a sudden was nose scenting and starting to pull at the end of the lead. So I shouted a challenge just to give someone a warning. So the dog went past the unit where the light was on, took me past the end unit, and then dragged me down the slope onto the grass all the way up to the fence to the nearest road. So to me, that indicates that there was possibly something or someone on site, and the dog's tracked me or has dragged me on a track to where that person or that animal has gone. So I checked all the fence line. I backtracked up back to sort of the blind side of the site, so the blind side of the units for me, just to check all the fencing, etc. It is Harris fencing, so if someone had climbed over it, I would have heard it, and I didn't. So I then done obviously a whole sweep of the site, checked the unit that it was, and if someone wants me to do some form of video in terms of it's kind of like interior, like checking a unit. Now, obviously, with units with doors, you don't want to just go bursting in with the dog. So there's a way in which you can get your dog to indicate to you whether someone is in there, and there's a special kind of signal from my dog. So if we go up to a door, I will say, right, Coop, hello, let's check, and I'll crack the door. If my dog sniffs, so my dog will poke his nose into the cracked door. If my dog looks at me, that's him telling me, no, there's no one in there. If my dog sits, then I know that he has smelt a scent or an odor in the unit. And I don't know how he does it, because obviously in some of the units it is a drying room. So yeah, he basically will sit if he can smell someone. If he can't smell anyone through the cracked door, he'll just look at me, and then we carry on. So yeah, I'll check that unit. I've done a sweep of the site. Everything seemed to be okay. This is off the back of a couple of weeks ago, the padlock getting cracked or smashed. So a little bit on edge anyway. So I don't know, put the dog back in the van after we'd done our patrol, etc. Told him he was good. And then about an hour or two later, same unit got set off. And so again, just sat there for like 10, 15 seconds just to check, see what was going on. And then got the dog out. Again, setting off the exterior light, but giving away that I am out in the open. Got the dog out, said, come on, let's go. Made a beeline. Now, this time my dog didn't scent early that he was onto something. Still took me past that unit and the end unit, short of the grass. And my dog was kind of just sort of sniffing a little bit, just looking around. And then all of a sudden, he bolted. And to be honest with you, I'd done very well to stay on my feet. He bolted. Now, for my dog, I know that if he has that kind of reaction, it's something that he's seen. If it's a scent, then he will normally kind of nose to ground or nose in the air sniffing, and he'll drag me there. If he goes from a stationary position to a flat out bolt end of the lead, he has seen something. And like I say, I've done very well to keep on my feet, to be honest. And he dragged me all the way up to the fence line of the road that's next to site. So then we went back and we done the same sweep, same fence line sweep, checked the unit, done a whole sweep of the site, obviously the padlock and the gate, etc., and didn't find anything. But so that was Sunday night, and that was my first, I'd say my first real kind of indication from the dog that we wasn't alone on site. Now, we've had foxes, cats, all sorts on site, but nothing to the extent that he's ever bolted to the end of the lead in a proper chest out moment. If there is a fox, he'll normally kind of stay pretty stationary, and he will probably have a bark, and he will do like a light pull. The same with a cat, but it's the first time that he has literally gone from a sort of a hill position to a bolt end of the lead and proper scrambling to get somewhere. So like I say, that was Sunday night, and like I say, there was no issue with sight. I didn't find anything wrong, but I think it was just interesting the way in which my dog reacted to the two different times I got him out. So the first one, from literally 10 yards from the van, he was already on it, saying, I can smell something, something's here. And the second one being not really scenting too much, and then he must have seen something visually for him to hit the end of the lead. Now, after the first, I should have said after the first time, I did hear some scrambling in the woods, the other side of the lane close to site. So whether that was a person, whether that was an animal, I couldn't see. My dog will probably, if my dog could talk, he'd probably be able to tell you what he saw the second time. But neither time did I see a person or an animal, so I can't confirm which one it was. But it was interesting, and like I say, that's the first real time that I've felt like we wasn't on site alone. But it didn't scare me, to be honest. I kept a cool head. I felt like I dealt with the situation pretty well. Sort of done a report and sent it in and told obviously the site manager and that the next day what had happened and what I felt like it was. Obviously, given the two possible what can I say? It is two possible reasons, whether it's person or animal. So yeah, like I say, it was interesting. It was a bit of action, the first real bit of action that I felt like. So, but like I say, I feel like I dealt with it pretty well. Who we got in? Chip King. It's a ghost. Moonshot. Hi, buddy. How you doing, mate? Porsche K9. Hey, mate. Evening. Moonshot. Different indication from different dogs. My old Shep used to do that. Look at me. Yeah. No, I say when I do sort of interior searches, if I crack doors, he'll have a sniff. He'll look at me if there's nothing. A bit like his article search, I suppose. So when we do article search, if he can't find it, he'll normally look at me and say, "Are we still looking?" And I'll say, "Okay, no, let's go." But if he obviously finds something, then he downs or he sits or whatever it is where the article is. So I assume that this sort of the door testing or the door sniffing, he uses his article search kind of indications for that. Moonshot, my Mally's bark though, it's weird. Yeah, I to be honest with you, I feel like if we was doing an interior or as we was doing with the unit, cracking the door and letting the dog have a sniff in, I feel like if he smelt someone, because the way in which I know that he sits is that I've done it on site with the supervisor. So the supervisor was on site and I just said to him, "Look, just do me a favor, stay where you are." He wasn't anywhere near the door. I just said, "Just do me a favor, just sit where you are. I'm just going to take the dog out for a patrol. I'm just going to walk past the door and I just want to crack the door for him to be able to smell you just to see what he does." So, like I say, I cracked the door and he sat to tell me that the supervisor was in that site, and I'd done a couple of units before it, and he just looked at me both times. But I feel like if he smells that there's someone there, he'll probably give me a sit. But I feel like it could possibly be a different reaction to if I crack the door and he's able to see someone move or hear someone move in there. I feel like that might be a different reaction, but without testing that, I couldn't tell you which one it is, and I obviously wouldn't ask my supervisor to approach the door whilst I've got the dog the other side. I feel like that's a step too far. It's probably something that we should do at training. Chip King, welcome to the club. Certainly gets your heart going when your dog indicates. Yeah, I thought, to be honest with you, because I'd never actually saw anyone, I kept reasonably calm. Yes, my heart rate was probably up, and my what's the best way to say it? Not my reactions, but I feel like I would have reacted to. I was obviously like my heightened senses. So if something had happened, I felt like I would have reacted quite quickly, and my heartbeat was up. But because I feel like I didn't see anyone, I don't feel like I was at that proper, what you would call sort of like high intensity. I didn't have that kind of adrenaline. It was more like my heart just beating a little bit quicker rather than like a full adrenaline. But yeah, it was interesting, and like I say, it was something that was something that I found interesting. And then Monday and Tuesday shift have just been standard shifts, to be honest. Me and the dog. Monday was surprisingly mild down in the southeast. I didn't even need to have the heater on Monday night. I'm not sure what temperature it was, but I'd guess that it was probably about 10 degrees. And yeah, like I say, Monday was nice and mild, and then last night was chilly tonight. Yeah, it was chilly. It was reasonably chilly last night. I wouldn't say it was cold, but I didn't have a second pair of like joggers underneath my work trousers last night, which I think was on the cusp. I was wearing them on the mild night, and I was a bit hot. But I did also on Monday night split the rear pocket of my work trousers. So they're now in the bin, and I'm down to one new pair. So I need to order a new pair of work trousers. I think because I get them to kind of fit me in the summertime when I put a pair of joggers underneath. I think just the constant getting up and obviously sitting and the constant washing of them, because obviously they get dirty, etc., just loosens them. And that's the second pair of work trousers I've had split in the sort of the rear pocket area. But they are reasonably old now, so it's nothing to do with the actual items themselves. I think it's just the constant use and the constant washing, etc., and things like that. So yeah, like Monday, Tuesday, and then obviously today I had to take the van for an MOT, which had passed, so that's all good news. So literally only cost me 50 quid for the MOT. I've had my hair cut for a do. I'm going out Saturday night, and then I did have chiropractor, so I had to go and get my back sorted out, which I'm going to come back to because Jeffrey has asked me a question, which I'll do now. So Jeffrey, he said, "Hi Michael, I'll be driving when this live is on. Quick question: what do you do to train yourself mentally, physically, etc.? Great channel, thanks." Well, thank you, Jeffrey. So in terms of what do I do to train myself mentally and physically? So I feel like a lot of this dog handler getting the night out. So as we all know with this job, you can spend a lot of time alone. Obviously, you have the dog, but obviously the dog doesn't talk back to you. So there are long periods of time where mentally you are alone. And obviously, I'm not going to say, obviously people have issues more than some, and I'm not someone that's ever suffered with any mental illness, very thankfully. And like I say, I've always said to people, look, if you ever struggle with sort of a mental illness, or you just need someone to talk to, I'm always there. I feel like I've been pretty open with a lot of guys, and I feel like you can all trust that I will give the best advice that I can. But yeah, mentally, there's obviously periods of time in which you have some alone time to think about different things. And I'd say mentally, but I go back to kind of when I was doing like my pro golf stuff, and there's a lot of times in pro golf that you have to kind of block everything that's going on around you and just concentrate on what you're doing. And I found in dog handling, mentally, the best way I find to cope with shifts is to give myself little blocks. So whether it's like 1 hour blocks, 2 hour blocks, or let's say it's 6 p.m, I'll give myself a block of like the next 3 hours I'm going to do X amount, or I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And I've also found finding things like podcasts and things like that with I like comedian podcasts, and I feel like listening to them, you don't feel like you're alone. Now, obviously, you have to be careful that you don't have it too loud that you can't hear stuff going along, which is why I've always said that I always wear one earphone, so that I always have one ear to listen out. And I found that using things like podcasts makes you feel like you've got people around you. Now, you obviously don't physically talk to, obviously, a podcast, but just having something to listen to and take your mind off other bits and pieces, or like the feeling of being alone, I feel like is quite important. But like I say, I think like mentally, sometimes if you just sit there at 6 p.m. and you think to yourself, well, I've got 12 hours, I've got so long left, I feel like mentally that can play on your mind, where if you break it down to, okay, it's 6 p.m, right, by 8 p.m, I'm going to have done these two patrols, this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm maybe going to get the tug out with the dog and just have a bit of a tug with him. And then between 8 and 9, maybe I'll do like some grooming, or I'll clean the cages out, etc. And like breaking stuff down and not sitting there thinking like, oh, I've got X amount of time before I get to leave, or things like that. And physically, obviously, you lot can probably tell I'm not the most imposing of people. I'm reasonably tall. I think I'm about 6'2", I want to say about 6'2", but I weigh about 10 stone. So obviously, in terms of like gym work, I don't do that kind of stuff. Physically, I play a decent amount of sports. So I play football on a Saturday and train on a Wednesday. And then I do play golf. Now, a lot of people will say, well, golf's not a sport. And I think the good thing about golf is that you do walk a good distance. Now, an average round of golf for me is around 17,000 steps. So that is up there with obviously a decent walk. Now, I can't tell you how far that is in miles, but it's about 17,000 steps. And obviously you are carrying a bag through a lot of that, or maybe you're pushing a trolley or whatever. But if you're carrying a bag 17,000 steps, walking up hills, down hills, although people say that golf isn't a sport, there's a lot of people that struggle to walk around 18 holes of golf, and that's where the sport element part comes in. And that's why I feel like for dog handling, it wasn't that much of a shock to me. Now, my site's not massive, so I don't have to do like long walks, or like I don't do millions of steps in a shift. But that's where I feel like I have the edge on some other handlers, is that if I had a reasonably big site, because I'm used to football twice a week and golf, I'm used to being on the move for periods of time, and not needing to take breaks, etc. But yeah, there are people that obviously go to the gym and things like that. But I think just having a good being able to walk certain distances. But yeah, like I say, I think mentally it's just about breaking the shift down. Physically, it's just me being an active kind of sportsman. And like I say, golf has been good for that, for the amount of walking that you do in one hit. And obviously football is good for physique. And obviously when you're playing football, it is also like contact. So you are still working muscles and using muscles. So you're not sort of wasting away. And I found that when I stopped playing football at 28, I think it was. I stopped playing football at 28. And although I was still playing golf and things like that, I could tell that my leg muscles were getting weaker and getting a little bit smaller. And that's why I kind of got back into football, was to get a little bit, not muscle on my legs, but getting them moving and getting a bit of fitness back into them. And it makes a big difference. So I hope that answers your question. Like I say, I'm not the most physical guy in terms of gym work and that. I think just because you don't get a lot of time to spend outside work, and taking up like an hour or two in order to do gym, obviously cuts into sleep time, or it cuts into other stuff. And I just don't feel like I have the commitment to a gym that I would say go instead of having dinner with the fiance, go to the gym and put dinner off for an hour. I wouldn't have the commitment to do that. And I definitely wouldn't have the commitment after I've had 4 hours sleep to go and do a gym session before working, or before chilling out or doing whatever, waiting for the fiance to get home. So I feel like my commitment to a gym wouldn't work, which is why I use sport to keep myself physically active. So Moonshot, I bought some exercise bands, do an hour on them. That's a good idea. Obviously, I assume they're like the bands where you can kind of stretch out sideways and forwards, things like that, just to keep yourself fit. I think a lot of kind of keeping yourself physically fit is also doing sort of stretching, keeping yourself mobile and stretching. Now, everyone feels like that being physically fit is about being muscly, etc. But a lot of being physically fit is also being flexible, or having some form of flexibility, so that your muscles are loose, so that if you do have to change direction quickly, that your muscles aren't tight, and then therefore having the possibility of a tear. Now, I wouldn't say I'm the most flexible person in the world, but I do seem to have a decent amount of flexibility for what I need. So I'm not talking about being a gymnast, but I'm talking about having some level of flexibility that you can climb over walls, or you can jump over stuff, and things like that. And you're obviously not too tight in your muscles, etc. And going back to what I was going to say about chiropractor, keeping myself physically fit, I'll go and see a chiropractor every 8 weeks. Through mainly golf, I've had a bit of a week back. Possibly going to the gym would obviously help that, strengthen the muscles up around it. But I go to a chiropractor every 8 weeks, and basically he goes in there, kind of pops my spine back into into where it should be, and kind of evens my hips out, and then I'm good for another 8 weeks. And being in the van and obviously being in a certain position for periods of time, and that your body will kind of, and especially your spine and that, it will kind of pop out of shape. And every now and then I do get a bit of a pain in the back. But yeah, going to a chiropractor every 8 weeks, it's like between 30 and 40 pounds for like 15-20 minutes. And like I say, just having that every 8 weeks keeps me fit and it stops me from breaking down too often. Moonshot bands, $2.99 from Home Bargains. So yeah, so them exercise bands, obviously a cheap way to keep yourself active. Obviously, try and keep yourself reasonably fit. I wouldn't be against people getting them. I think any exercise that you can do to keep yourself working, keep yourself active, I think is good. So has there anyone had anything happen this week or in the last couple of weeks? It's obviously been a few. You should see my spine after 18 years of being dragged around by dogs. I did say that. So when I went to chiropractors today, there was I went there and he said, "Oh, I've got a last year uni student just wants to watch me do some work, etc." And I did say when I went in there, funnily enough, he actually works on movie security whilst he's trying to become a chiropractor. And obviously he kind of understood the security kind of stuff. And I said to him that, especially with this job, is that your body can go from kind of two extents. Now, when you say about being dragged around by dogs, I don't know whether you mean by lead or by sleeve. But even if you talk about by lead, is that with this job, you can be sitting in your van, minding your own business, listening to your podcast 1 minute, and the next minute you can have a dog banging on the end of the lead in a standoff. And I feel like that's part of this job, is that you obviously have to be ready for that, but your body has to be physically ready for that. And if you are someone that has injuries, like I feel like I've got a little bit of a dodgy left shoulder. And I think a lot of that is to do with the dog being on the end of the lead. Now, I know a lot of people, I know a lot of the way in which Nasdu, they teach you to have the lead through your right hand, or the loop over your right hand, and then safe lead on your right, which is obviously the way in which Nasdu is a bit like the 10 and 2. It's a bit like the 10 and 2 that they teach you on your driving to pass your test. But I'm predominantly left-handed, so it is easier for me, and my left side is obviously stronger. So I benefit more from walking the dog in my left hand. And yes, it does mess me up a little bit, because when I go to training and I have to put the lead in my right hand, if I go to check it, my dog thinks that we're going to turn right, where when I'm on site, if I want to check it, I'll give it a flick back and he eases up. And if I turn right, because the lead's in my left hand, it'll be a pop to the right, and that's when he turns right. So when I have the lead in the right hand for training and I pop it to check him, to him, it feels like we're going to turn right. So like I say, it's for me, it's easier to walk in my left hand, and it's probably safer because my left side is stronger. But obviously, right side is a bit like the 10 and 2. That's the side in which they'll teach you to do it. Poseidon's safety call. I was going to read that all out. Poseidon, as you say, it's going from sitting and having to do high impact activity with no warm up and no preparation for it. And having a hoofing great big dog pulling towards someone. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was saying about early on in this, about the second time I got the dog out for that light being activated on Sunday, is that the first time my dog gave me a 20, 25 yard, 30 yard pull. So it's a constant pull, which you can deal with because you kind of get yourself into a position where you can constantly take the impact of the dog pulling. But the second time, when he went from a heel position to banging on the end of the lead, and like I say, I've done well to keep myself on my feet, to be honest, because we ended up going down a bank that was probably about 2.5, 3 foot above the grass. So we went off the end of that onto the grass. But it's that first impact of the dog hitting the end of the lead, of sort of your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder. That's where you'll start getting injuries. And like I say, that's where I feel like my left shoulder is getting a little bit achy from times. And I do feel if I sleep on that shoulder, sometimes it does hurt when I wake up, because of the impacts that I've had of the dog banging on the end of the lead. But yeah, like I say, going to the chiropractor in terms of like my hips, my back, going to the chiropractor every 8 weeks seems to keep me in a decent shape, obviously to keep working. I don't think I've had a day off in the last year, in the last sort of 14 months, due to my back being out. But I can guarantee you, if I didn't go to the chiropractor, I reckon every 10 weeks I'd probably need a couple of days off, where my back would be hurting. So yeah, look after yourself. And like I say, it's only cost me £30 to £40 for a session, and at the end of the day, that's only 3 or 4 hours of working in order to pay for that. So it's not a massive expense. It's not as if it's costing you £100, £200 to go there. But and that's why I think a lot of people in this job, they will spend a lot of money in order to keep their dogs working and make sure their dogs are fit, but they won't spend the money on themselves to make sure they are fit to work. And you kind of just suffer your way through it because you feel like, oh yeah, I'll be all right, I can get through this. But like Poseidon said, like 18 years of the dog dragging you around, maybe there was something in that 18 years that if he had constant corrections, maybe a certain injury wouldn't be as bad as it is. But that's just me guessing. Obviously, I don't know that for sure. But I'd like to think that if I go and see someone every 8 weeks, a constant realigning or constant checkup of how my body is acting will hopefully in 10 years benefit me, that maybe an injury won't be as bad or my shoulder won't be as bad as possibly it could have been. So next thing we'll do, if we talk about the last 2 videos, which as normal, I have no idea what they are because that is the kind of guy I am. And the first one was the Nasdu Certification. So 2 weeks ago, there was the Nasdu Certification video, and that was information that I found on the Nasdu website. Someone wanted to know exactly what to expect in terms of the team certificate, and that video was the information I found on the Nasdu website, just explaining what it is your dog is going to be asked to do in sort of a team certificate. And I feel like that video is good if you're going for your Nasdu course. That just explains typically what is going to happen and what they are expecting of the dog. Now, you obviously have your 80 questions, your 2 40-question tests, obviously you have to pass. But on the Nasdu website, they explain what the dog is going to be asked to do. And I kind of explained in that, in terms of like the bark and I can't remember how they word it, like the bark and hold, like the dog has to bite the sleeve. It is a foul if the dog doesn't bite the sleeve. And then obviously you have the out command, that kind of stuff. And like I say, that video, if you're going in for your Nasdu, that would be a good one to listen to because you can kind of prepare yourself for what to expect on the day. And yeah, and then I'll talk a little bit about obviously training hours. Obviously, they say you need to do a minimum of 60, but if you're someone like me who had a green dog and needed to get into it, obviously I've done around 120, I think. So just because it says 60, if you're using your own dog, it's a possibility that dog's not going to be at the standard after 60. Therefore, you have to carry on your training and then go through it together. And then the last video is the van update. So that video is me just updating some stuff that I've done with my vans, some purchases that I bought. Obviously, the biggest thing for me was taking out the bulkhead, and I feel like that's been a really beneficial. And if you can do it and you want to do it, I feel like that's a good benefit. Being able to see, and even the dog being able to see you all the time, I feel like will probably take some stress off the dog, that the dog's not wondering where you are. Now, the dog will obviously be able to smell that you are in the van, or he'll obviously be able to hear that you've left the van, or smell that you have left the van. But I feel like the dog being able to see you, especially if you've just got a single dog, if the dog just being able to see you, I think mentally for the dog will keep them a little bit calmer and make the dog not feel like they've been left in the van. I feel like if you've got a bulkhead and you kind of leave the dog in the back and you sit in the cab, although the dog may know that you're in the van, because he can't see you, he may still feel alone. Now, I'm getting into probably something that you're all talking about and saying, "Oh, don't be so stupid." But if my dog felt like he was alone, although he wasn't, me taking that bulkhead out and now him constantly being able to see me, and even me being able to see the dog, I feel like has been quite beneficial for both of us. Because when I talk about mentally, how I prepare mentally, or what I do for mental things, is me being able to see the dog is possibly me feeling like I'm not alone in the van. But like I said in the video for that, a lot of it was to do with safety as well. Is that if I was in the cab the way I was set up, if I was in the cab and I was approached from the rear or the sides, there was no way of me getting to the dog, because the only way I could get to the dog was either the side or the back door. And I don't know why they do it on vans. Is that my van, the side door is on the passenger side. So even if I got out of my driver's door, I still had to make it all the way around to the other side for the side door, which is ridiculous, I feel. But obviously having that bulkhead out now is that if there was a worst case scenario, I could get the dog in the cabin area. And I'm not saying that I would do that just so I can open the door and let the dog out. But if it was a case that I could diffuse the situation of having the dog with me, so that person wouldn't want to try and break into the van, then all the better. And possibly that'd be a way of defusing it. But yeah, just having that bulkhead out has been good. There's some other bits and pieces in there, like the heater and the extension lead that I've got now, because I want to do more shifts from the van rather than the cabin. Because although the cabin might seem like a really good idea, and you may think, well, you've got more space, you've got somewhere to sit, you can stretch out. In terms of trying to keep the site safe and me warm, it wasn't the best way of doing it, because I had to keep the door open to be able to see site. Therefore, I was letting all the hot air out and all the cold air in. Therefore, I wasn't actually keeping myself that warm. I was still having to stand up next to the radiator in order to try and keep myself warm. So having the extension lead and the heater in the van has been a better way for me to keep the site safe and me warm. That was the best combination. But yeah, like I say, them two videos, just the Nasdu one, if you want to know what to expect from the Nasdu website, what to expect during a team certificate kind of thing, and then obviously the changes that I've done to my van. They're the last two videos. I feel like they've both gone down pretty well, especially the van update. The sort of views to likes ratio is pretty good. That's how I kind of rate whether a video has been decent or not. I don't really go on views, to be honest, because there could be people that just click on. Someone said to me the other day, because they don't understand how this would work with views, is that sometimes they click onto one of my videos and then they get distracted and they have to come out to do something else, and then they'll go and watch it later. So I may get 2 views for that video, but like half time. So if it's a 10-minute video, I might get 2 5-minute views rather than an actual 1 10-minute. So the way in which I see if a video is a success, the same way I do with these lives, is that if I try and get, let's say, a like every 10 views. So if there's 100 views, if I've got 10 likes, that means 1 in 10 people have said, yeah, I like that video, I'm going to press the thumbs up. And that's the way in which I see if a video is worth doing again, or if that subject is something that people want to see. And the van update, I think it had about 120 to 130 views with 16 likes. So I'm ahead of my 1 every 10 people. And I feel like having one in 10 is a decent number, because I'd say out of 10 people, there's probably 4 people that didn't watch the whole video. So that leaves 6. There'll be 3 people that enjoyed it but won't press the like button. There'll be 2 people that maybe comment but don't like, and then you have that 1 person that actually presses the like button. And I understand it, because I'm not someone that watches lots of YouTube videos and pushes the like button a lot. So I understand that I don't hold it against people if they don't push the like button, because I don't want my sort of algorithm of things that I've liked to be sort of conflicted, because I've got 2 YouTube accounts, one for golf and one for like football, dog handling, etc. I don't want them to get mixed up, so I normally don't press the like button. So I wouldn't hold it against anyone if they don't press the like button. But in terms of how do I determine whether a video has been successful, I'd say it's the like count. And if I can get 1 in 10, I feel like at the moment that I'm quite happy with that. People that get millions of views, they don't have the same amount of likes. Even if it's the best video that's on YouTube, I can guarantee you, let's say they've got 50 million views, they probably only have about 3 million likes, possibly. So it's the way in which I determine it at the moment, at the low level that I'm at. And I appreciate everyone that actually presses the like button, because that gives me a good indication that if I'm on the right path, or if what I'm doing is right. And this was the title of the live, and it's something that I wanted to talk to a lot of you about, especially the people that are in here quite a lot. And from next month, I will be changing my shift pattern, which means I will be working on a Wednesday. And I don't want to lose these lives now. I do enjoy doing these lives, meeting up every other week, having a chat, etc. But I don't have enough subscribers to be able to do it on my phone. I don't know whether it would be a great idea to do one whilst I'm working, but I'm going to be started working sort of Monday to Thursday. So I don't want to lose the lives. Therefore, we need to try and find another home for them. But obviously, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, everyone knows that everyone's weekends are always different. And sometimes you have a Friday night at the pub, sometimes you have a Friday night at the cinema, sometimes you have a Friday night in. And I don't want to be someone that promises to do one every other week and then doesn't. So I was hoping that maybe some people in here would give me an answer to if I said, look, I'll do one every other week. It'll be on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday evening, but I'll pick it and maybe put it up on YouTube early so people know when it's going to be. Now, I understand that that's going to be a little bit of there's going to be more people that maybe can't make it because maybe they go out on Friday nights or whatever. But maybe then by changing it to a Friday night, maybe we'll get the core people or the people that normally come in and maybe some extras, because maybe people do stuff on Wednesdays. So I just want to know whether people will be happy if from May, whether I turn it into I'll do one every other week, but I'm not sure which day it's going to be, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Whether people will be happy with that, because that's the only way in which I'll be able to do it. Now, obviously, I have the Discord, and in the description below is the Discord link, a new one. Every live video that I do, I re-put a new invite, and in the Discord group, you will get a notification from me early to say, look, I'm going to be doing a live this day, or there's a live set up. Make sure you go on there. So if you want to keep up to date with that kind of stuff, then the Discord group is the best part. But I just want to hear some people hear their opinions on whether they worry. I want to hear people's opinions to whether they're bothered about what day this live is on, and Whether changing it to a Friday, Saturday, Sunday would make any real difference. Now, for the people that normally work, it probably doesn't. But maybe for other people, maybe it would. But then they would still get enough notice in advance that they would know that between 6 and 7, we're going to have a live on Friday. I think that's the other thing that I'll need to put out is that if maybe if we do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it might not be 7 till 8. Maybe it'll be 8 till 9 or 6 till 7. But it's just going to be a bit messed up. And like I say, I really enjoyed doing all these lives and speaking to everyone. And I don't want to lose it, but then I have to know that this doesn't pay my wages and that it'll be more beneficial to my life to be able to do Monday to Thursday working during the summer whilst the football season's off. So if anyone's got any comments about that, put it down in the comment section below. And yeah, just let me know about it. But I am still committed to doing this, and there'll obviously still be all my videos every Saturday, etc. A live video will never take over from a normal Saturday video, so don't worry about that. The live is just going to be an extra, but just moved into another position, and maybe I'll try and put some different things out during the week so that there is maybe still a video on a Wednesday, but it's more of just a quick information video. Dog, what are you barking for? So I'm going to leave it at that. That's just coming up to 47 minutes. I've just got a couple of bits I need to do before I pop out later. So I want to thank everyone for coming into the live. I hope you enjoyed it. I feel like we had a good little chat in there. It's been a lot of me talking, so I appreciate everyone that's listened to me for this long. But yeah, like I say, any comments you got about this, just drop it down in the comment section below. Join the Discord group, come in, say hi, ask your questions in there. Discord is somewhere where you can get answers more quicker than you will do in these lives. And as for now, just want to thank you all for watching. Hope you're having a good Wednesday evening. I'll see you all later. Thanks for watching. See you later.